How did Floyd Money Mayweather, a man who made more than $1.1 billion boxing, allegedly lose it all? And what mistakes did he make that even the average person is doing right now, making anywhere between $50,000 to $100,000 that can also allow you to be broke? My name is Kevin Matthews. I'm a financial planner and I've managed over $140 million in my advisory career. I'm going to show you exactly how Floyd ended up in this position and how those behaviors show up in your life today. And I'm going to do it in about 15 minutes. Let's go ahead and break it down. Now, Floyd Money Mayweather is a curious case because yes, he made a whole bunch of money and most people think they know what happened. But that's not exactly the case. Now, he made a ton of money in boxing, but the way that he did it was a bit different. You go out, you box, you make money for those matches. But the reason why he made more money, especially more than the average boxer, is because he became much more of a promoter. He became his own promoter, rather. And that is why the pay-per-view model is what it is today. So he made it more common to get paid $100 million, $200 million, $300 million to fight for one fight, which is absolutely crazy, and how he got to that $1.1 billion. Now, according to Business Insider, and all these numbers are alleged from Business Insider, that is where we are pulling all this data and information from. So the behavior, the first one rather, is surrounding yourself with the right people and with the right advisory team. Now, when I say advisory team, this also means mentors. This also can include family members too. And to be fair, you can compare Floyd to someone like Michael Jordan, because many people will see Floyd on Instagram or some of his viral clips and say, well, yeah, he was just throwing money here and there. Well, Michael Jordan gambled and is known for gambling, yet Michael Jordan, more than 30 years from playing, or if you want to count the Wizards, we can say 20 something, whatever. In either case though, Michael Jordan was known for gambling, right? And would gamble on rock, paper, scissors, gamble on anything, and he is still a billionaire. Floyd allegedly is not. So the first thing, again, surround yourself with a good advisory team, because that is the first thing that fell apart the minute he stopped boxing. His dad, unfortunately, now has dementia, and that was a big guiding force in his life. He had one person that was in his camp that fell under federal investigation. That ain't good. And then his main boxing manager went off and did something else. Once you lose your key advisory team, that is usually not a great thing. For you, as an average person, you do need, in most cases, an attorney, an accountant, and a financial planner. I will volunteer to talk to you one-on-one for free if you need a financial planner. We can talk at buildingbread.com/callkev, and you're gonna see why that is important here in a sec. But as we continue, having a good advisory team, you might think is gonna help you to make more money. Maybe, maybe not. The most important thing is to help to avoid making the key mistakes. And that brings us to number 2. Floyd didn't necessarily diversify his assets in the best way possible. He invested, kind of putting that in air quotes, or spent his money, however you want to say it, in 2 primary categories: real estate and crypto. What is missing here? We know that real estate is known for being more stable, known for being more reliable. However, it can also be costly, extremely costly. We know you've got property taxes, you got maintenance, and a whole host of other issues that can come with real estate. So that's one thing. Even if the property is sitting completely still, if I've got 3 different mansions, I got yard work I gotta keep up with, property taxes, so on and so forth. And those can rack up millions of dollars depending on what state you are in, and how big the estate is. So imagine having 3 different mansions in the 3 most expensive places, New York, California, and Florida. That can be quite expensive for you, and that's all you have is real estate. So that's number 1. And then you jump from real estate and go all the way up to crypto. Now, if I have real estate at the bottom tier, which is good, stable foundation, and I go all the way to the top of the pyramid at crypto, extremely volatile, high risk, high reward, well, what is in the middle here? A good advisory team would have helped you to know that, wait a minute, you might want to have something in the stock market. And according to Business Insider, there were several experts that looked into his finances and he did not own enough, if at all, in the stock market. And that is important because when you have allegedly a $22 million tax debt, you have to start liquidating properties to sell. And guess what? Properties are not easy to sell. They're not quick to sell. The stock market is. I have dividends. I can easily just take that and pay down on certain debts. You don't have those things because you may not have had a good advisory group. And now, because your assets were not diversified enough, now you're running into these issues. And because all of those things are happening, you are ending up not paying a jet bill, not having other types of businesses and things because you didn't have those things set up correctly. In contrast, someone like Michael Jordan, he took his earnings as a basketball player and took ownership in something like Nike, and the Nike partnership was in equity, aka the stock market. And as Nike grew, so too did his wealth. That ownership, that stock market piece is extremely important. You have to make sure you are diversified. So you, as an investor, you want to make sure that you are diversified. Yes, you want something in the stock market. For most of us, that's going to be your 401k. That's going to be your Roth IRA. Outside of that, perhaps, not all of us, perhaps you want a little bit of crypto. Some of us may want a little bit of real estate too, but also within that 401k, do you also own international stocks? If so, how much? These are questions that you want to ask. Do you only own tech stocks? How much in energy do you have? Is that something that you should own as well? What about defensive stocks? Something like a Walmart in case the stock market does go down. These are questions that you need to ask and take a very deep look at within your portfolio. If you don't have answers to that question, you want to go to buildingbread.com/callkev. We can take a look at your portfolio and see exactly what you need. Now, those two things alone likely would have saved him from his current alleged fate, according to the article. But this is something most of us have likely seen if you have perused his Instagram, and that is understand exactly what you're paying for and why. You can call this anti-flex culture or whatever. But in reality, if you sit down, and this is something I'm not gonna say struggling with, but just really sitting down with now that I am, above 35 years old. I'm 36, so it's not like I'm well above 35, but as I'm now at this age, it is truly understanding, do I really need this thing? And if I am going to spend money on this thing, do I need to pay top dollar for it? An example is, I don't buy first class flights. I just don't. Unless it is just me and my wife, and unless it is a special occasion, anniversary, honeymoon, something like that, there is no point in me doing first class. And that's just because we all gonna get there at the same time. I can just go get an exit row if I need the extra leg room or something like that. And again, if it's international and it's a really long flight, okay, cool. And again, it's just me and her. What am I doing that for the kids for? They tiny anyway. It doesn't make sense to do that. I don't care about being first on the plane. I don't. Okay, ooh, leather seats, right? It just does not make sense to do that. If I want to buy, a newer car, or I want to get a luxury watch or something like that, I like those things, but do I need to get it brand new, or can I get it gently used and save 20, 30, 40%? I told you guys that years ago that eBay was one of my favorite stocks, and I like to go to eBay because it feels great to get something that is good for a much cheaper price. I like going to the pawn shop every now and then and say, ooh, this is a nice keyboard, this is a nice guitar, and I can get it for how much cheaper than brand new? It does the exact same thing. If the quality is good, then I'm going to get it for that price and for that whatever discount it may be. It just makes more sense depending on what it is. For Floyd, he allegedly didn't pay for jet fuel on a private jet. Now, for him, he got private jet money. That's the type of class he is in. But if you are struggling and the budget might be thin, do you really need a private jet to go where you're going? Or for him, can he just do first class wherever it is he's going? I think the first class route could have saved him tens of thousands of dollars. And I say that because we know people like Chad Ochocinco, who was a former football player who's in the $1 million range, he still flies Spirit. Now, I don't even fly Spirit, but he flies Spirit, and he does so because he is notoriously cheap. And you don't have to be cheap necessarily, but there is a range there. Warren Buffett, one of the world's wealthiest men, still drives an old school Cadillac. I mean, what are we doing here, right? You don't have to spend everything. There is a range of, hey, I have money, I've worked hard, I want to enjoy it. But if we all get there at the same time, do I have to get top of the line every single time if it doesn't truly make sense? But I can only live in one place at a time. Do I need 3 different houses, or can I have one nice house and just get the nicest hotel in whatever place I go to? And I think that's the thing too. I will spend on a hotel. We will spend on a nice hotel. But the mode in which I get there, I'm not gonna do Greyhound, no. But I also don't have to have, a first class flight. Let me know what y'all think. Maybe I'm crazy. The next piece is the cost of financial literacy, or in this case, the cost of financial illiteracy, allegedly. And according to the article, he had to take a loan of roughly $50 million or so at 9%. 9% interest, a 9% loan on $50+ million. That's a lot. That's a lot. But here's how all these things start to stack up, okay? If you don't have advisors, and those advisors don't tell you, hey, you may want to diversify your assets, and you're spending far too much money, you end up taking this loan. And you might have had better options, because I could have, instead of taking out a 9% loan, what if, again, I own stocks, those stocks pay dividends. Could have used those dividends and paid off whatever bills I needed to have. Or I could have just had all this money invested and lived off the dividends and interest alone and never needed to touch the principal. Never needed to touch it. If a savings account, and I'm not recommending this at all, but if a savings account right now is paying close to 4%, 4% off of just $200 million should have been able to sustain your lifestyle. Because you shouldn't be spending that, most people shouldn't be spending that amount of money. Okay, $200 million, 4%. You should have been fine. If not enough, make it work. Okay, so that's make it stretch if that's the issue here. Outside of that, right? What if, again, I could have taken of all the homes he had? What if you could have got a home equity line of credit and that could have been less than the 9%? I'm not saying that that's the best route, because then you loan yourself the amount against the equity on the home. You may not want to put the home at risk. But according to the article, he said that those homes were already paid off in cash. So again, it's against the equity. If it's already paid off in cash, you may not be as, at risk that much. Okay, but it might be an option as opposed to paying 9%. Maybe it would have been less. It's worth a comparison. It's worth an option to look at as opposed to paying 9%. And again, if you had a stock market portfolio, sometimes you can loan yourself the money based on that. This is what Elon often does, and how he avoids taxes as well, because he normally loans himself the money based on the value of Tesla shares. These were options. I'm not saying they were the best options. I'm not saying these are options I think regular people should take. However, the main thing is, when you have an advisory team, when you have financial literacy, and you subscribe to channels like this, you can start to see a menu of choices and say, well, wait a minute, I don't know if 9% is the best thing for me. Maybe I can do one of these other things. Or, more importantly, maybe I can cross these things off the list before I go to somebody for what looks like an expensive loan. These are just things that you can check out. Okay, now again, 9% is better than a credit card. Absolutely, it is better than a credit card for somebody of his stature. But again, a $50 million loan is crazy, because again, if I were spending better, I wouldn't have needed a loan of that much to begin with. And that there is the key. If you want to learn more about financial literacy and how Michael Jordan did not end up in a situation like this, you want to check out this video right here.